Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
All right. Good evening. This is my second podcast of the night, and I do have a different sport to talk to. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Dan. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you go after what happened yesterday. Uh, so the floor is yours. The U.S. Open golf with DeChambeau winning. What an incredible, I would say the third shot from the bunker, it's still one of the greatest shots I've seen in golf in a while. So, going to let you the floor. We'll talk about Bryson, then we'll get to Rory and the rest of them.
Yeah, well, thank you. So, no, we had our drama on Father's Day yesterday. A great finish. I was watching it, and unfortunately, a lot of it on a few minutes behind. I had to pause in order to get the steaks going on the barbecue, but I managed to so the drama was kind of a little spotty for me. It wasn't the flow wasn't perfect, but it was still kind of reflecting on it afterwards. It was quite amazing thinking back to the whole sequence and how, basically, like we said, a two pony race, we'll call it, for much of the day for the back nine. Patrick Cantlay kind of, he was around a little bit, but you never felt like he was really going to make a putt to, get within one. He was always kind of two back, just never quite threatening. So basically a two pony race on that whole back nine. As we know, Bryson started the day 3 up. He struggled a little bit on the front. Rory caught him, and Rory had a 2-stroke lead with, I believe it was 5 holes to go. I think on the 13th hole is where he was -8. And I think Bryson had a bogey, so it put him at -6. So he had about a 2-shot lead with 5 holes to go. So we thought, here we go. It's going to be Rory's first major since I think 10 years ago. And it was looking that way. He was driving the ball great. He was, he had sunk 100 feet of putts yesterday. He was putting well up to that point, and then it all kind of just imploded for him. He, we can kind of break it down hole by hole, but just basically it came down to on holes 16 and 18. If we summarize it, 16 and 18, he 3-putted, and he missed a 2-foot 9-inch putt on 16. Kind of pulled it left, and up until that point, I think we talked briefly last night. The stat was this year he was 497 out of 497 on putts inside of 3 feet, I think. So it just shows you what a little U.S. Open pressure when you start thinking about winning your first major in 10 years, what that can do to you. And it kind of just, humanizes him and everyone. We're out there on the weekend. We know how hard those 3-footers are, but we're not pros, and those guys don't miss those almost never. So, and then 17, Roy made a great up and down to kind of hang in there. He hit his tee shot into the left bunker, got up and down, made about a 3 or 4 footer there to save par. So that was clutch. We thought, okay, he's going to get it back together and maybe, either win or force a playoff. And then it came down to 18 where he had a wild drive left. And then was able to kind of punch out, get short of the green, but then he hit his pitch shot a little long. The criticism was that he had to leave his pitch under the hole instead of above the hole. He left himself with about a 3.5 footer downhill sideways shot, and he once again missed that 3.5 footer. Pushed it, kind of the break. It was a severely breaking putt. It wasn't easy, looking back on it, but those are the kind of putts. Those, if you're going to win a major, you have to make those at that point. And he missed that. And then before you know it, and then it came down to basically, Rory was 1 back, and Bryson was on the tee on 18, and we thought, Bryson had struggled all day off the tee, and once again he hit a wild tee shot, well left, and maybe if not for all the TV production crew set up over there, maybe that ball's out of bounds. Who knows? It was so far left, and he was able to it took a while, but he was right on top of a tree root. And he then hit a punch shot. All he could really do is punch it into the bunker that was 50 yards short of the hole. So we all know how hard any bunker shot is, let alone 50-yard shot. And I think the stats on that shot to put it within a couple of feet are 2%. What I heard the analytics are 2% of the time. And he even said afterwards, that's a shot he hits 1 out of 100 times as close as he did. He put it to about 4 feet. And then I kind of thought he was going to miss that putt just because the nerves and the gravity of the matter, but and the size of the size of the moment. But he had a clutch shot, center cup, clutch putt, and he had a huge celebration afterwards. The crowd went nuts, and there you have it. Bryson gets his second U.S. Open in 4 years. His first one was during COVID at Winged Foot. Now he's got one at Pinehurst, two of the more historic courses in America for U.S. Opens. And and he's had a great finish. We'll talk about it. But he's had a great finish at the majors this year. Second at PGA, tied sixth, I think, at the Masters, and now first place here. So arguably, not arguably, he's got the best major record of any pro this year right now, even better than Scheffler, who had a tough time in this tournament. And it was just a tournament with great drama coming down the stretch. It was a tough course. Only about 5 or 6 players broke par. You could argue that if this was a course that had a lot of rough on the left and right, that maybe Bryson wouldn't have done as well as he did because his driving was wild the last couple days. Only hit 4 of 14 fairways yesterday, but he was lucky. A lot of his lies weren't underneath that native the native land, those weeds and grass, whatever you want to call it. He always had a pretty good shot, and the ball was never really buried under those weeds, so he was able to get it close to the green. And then his short game was clutch. He a lot of up and downs, and he's putted pretty well. He only had 1 3-putt the whole tournament. I think he had that 3-putt on either 14 or 15 to give one up, and then Rory gave it right back on 16. So that was kind of my impression yesterday. It was kind of a wild day by Bryson, and Rory's two chokes for short putts, and there you have it. Bryson, U.S. Open champion for the second time. So,
Yeah.
what do you think about everything yesterday?
I think you pretty much summed it well, but I think just watching it live, um, when Rory had, I think it two shot lead, I think. Um, it looked like Bryson was pretty wayward. I mean, you're right. I mean, he was all over the place, and
Mm.
I mean, he had some pretty good lies, but again, he has a way of getting out of danger, including the 18th hole. I actually rewatched the highlights again today just to see the difficulty of that shot and then the third shot. I mean, the third shot was 55 foot, and I think they kind of, I think there was another video going around on Twitter about another golf pro where Bryson was actually, he hit I'm trying to remember his name. He hit the ball like within 3 feet, and Bryson literally took the U.S. Open and
Oh,
gave it to
last
him.
night, Johnson Wagner, Johnson
Yes,
Wagner.
there you
Yeah,
go. You
yeah,
got
I
the
saw
name.
that. That
But
was
anyway,
classic.
I think, yeah, the day belonged to Bryson. Bryson was the best player on day 3. He had the lead going in. Obviously, for purposes of TV, they had Cantlay and Rory pair up because of the history and the Ryder Cup. But I think it was probably one of the most gut-wrenching losses that you'll ever see on a major stage, and that too happening to a player who is now 0 for 37 in majors. I think it was the last 13 years ago when Barack Obama was the president of the United States was when the last time he actually won a major. And on top of it, let's give credit to Bryson. He got out of danger. He made some clutch putts, like 6, 7 foot putts, par saves, and then he had his own problems too. I mean, he actually missed some easy putts, but not like Rory, missing putt after putt. I mean, some of these putts, we call them gimmies. I think he missed some of these things, and I think like you kind of alluded to the stat about him never missing a putt from that distance. So, um, I mean, yesterday I think we're texting back and forth. I was texting a couple of friends too. Was it a case of Rory won it, lost it, and Bryson won it? I do think that you have to. Yes, Rory did lose it, but you have to give credit where it's due. The second and the third shot that Bryson hit on 18, those are the type of shots that you can win a tournament like the U.S. Open, which is probably one of the most toughest um, Grand Slams to play. And I think on top of it, adding insult to injury, Rory kind of left early. The U.S. Open, he kind of cleared up today on Twitter by saying that he's going to take some time off, which means we will not see him at the Travelers. Um, and interestingly, I did read another um, article today on golf.com where, yeah, as you know, the Full Swing is the Netflix series that they've been doing, and apparently, um, I think there was Netflix crew kind of still tailing Rory. I think they were waiting for him. I think he was gone before he. So I think it's going to be very interesting to watch the drama on the Full Swing when that actually comes in. I think. I mean, to just say 496 attempts, even this year. I mean, he missed a par try near 2 feet and 6 inches on 16. That's just crazy. And then I think this is. I mean, Rory was the favorite, meaning on the second. I mean, he was a fan favorite yesterday. I mean, you could see the crowd equally rooting for Rory, and I mean, DeChambeau, which is kind of like he kind of changed a lot with the last 2 years. I mean, he was not well liked by a lot of people, but I think he's become a big fan favorite. Um, and and I think he was really playing to the crowds. Yeah, yesterday. I mean, he was very emotional. I mean, he was pumped up after making putt after putt, getting out of danger. There was one shot. I don't know which hole it was. There was like trees all around, and he kind of split the trees right, right
Yeah.
in the middle. I have to remember which hole that was.
Yeah,
But
I asked him, and he said, how wide of a gap did he have? And he said he had about 8 feet, I think, only to squeeze it through. So pretty tight gap. I remember them asking. They asked him that after the match. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I think great job by Cantlay. I think he came through very strong. There was a time that he was going to be, if he had made some couple of birdie putts, he didn't make a long putt. There was a one hole where both Rory and Cantlay traded back and forth, 10, 15 foot par, 10 foot birdies, I think. I mean, Cantlay definitely had his chance to um, you know, kind of contend, but it was a Rory and DeChambeau pretty much back and forth all day. And I think, kudos. This is the second major for Bryson, and credit to him for toughing it out there. It was not easy conditions. I think even on the broadcast, Mike Tirico um, was saying that the last 3 or 4 holes was the one that will decide the U.S. Open, and it turned out to be true. It was either one player making some excellent shots and the other player just faltering on putts. And then again, even Rory, even his drives were not really good. There were a couple of times he had some excellent drives, but only to put it. Um, I think it was a 13th hole. I think 13th hole or 14th hole. I can't remember that. And then there was one heartbreak for Rory at a par five where his second shot landed on the green, rolled down, and ended up, where it was a pretty, I wouldn't call it unplayable lie, but it was a pretty bad lie. And then the third shot went up, rolled back in the bunker. So
Yeah.
that's
So
where he went with the bogey. And even if he had walked away with like a birdie there, or even like a birdie there, he would have put himself in a good spot. There was like a two stroke swing right there. So
yeah, I mean, I think we also So like to summarize, like you said, is it Rory who lost it or Bryson who won it? A little bit of both, like you said, but I think it's more in any tournament. You're always going to have some players that miss some putts. I mean, maybe not 2.5 footers and 3.5 footers, but we can look back also on so many good shots that Bryson hit throughout. Although we said his driving wasn't great, but I remember there was two shots that stick in my memory. Like you said, well, the one I didn't see the one on the front side where he that amazing shot through the trees, that 8 foot gap that kind of saved him a shot. Ultimately, I think he got up and down. I believe I remember hearing that on the radio. He made a huge 10-foot putt to save par, huge save, and crowd went nuts. But then on the backside, I remember that drivable par four. I think it was number 14 or 15 where he got a birdie. He hit a 3-wood. It was like a 318-yard par four. Stuck it, landed it, he carried it to just shy of the green, perfect landing spot, bounced on, held the green, made his 2 putt for birdie. That cut the lead in half when I think Rory was up by 2. And then on number 17, I remember it was a tough a par 3 where many players had trouble holding the green. Rory's, I know, rolled over, and that's where Rory, I think, couldn't get up and down. He was in that back stuff, the back junk. Bryson hit a brilliant iron to about 15 feet. He didn't make the birdie. He was a tap in for par after, but that was a key shot too on 17 where he held the green, hit a great iron shot, and stuck it. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of dead wrong on Bryson. I listened to the Golf Channel all the live from U.S. Open preview shows, and they were all critiquing Bryson, saying that he didn't have the iron control for distance to conquer this course because he would, if you're off by a few yards, as we saw balls roll off, and you're having to get up and down as opposed to a birdie putt. And it was funny after, as you mentioned, like a couple of years ago, I think Bryson and the media were kind of at odds. A lot of they were a little antagonistic towards each other, but he's really kind of improved his relationship both with the media and now I think with the fans, as you've said. And it was funny when he sat down with Brandel Chambly after his win. They were in the at the post game kind of thing. They were going over his round shot by shot, and one of Bryson's great saves was a great pitch shot, to get close, and he made the putt. And Bryson kind of joked with Brandel. He's like, not bad for a pitch shot from me, huh? Because Brandel had said all along how he doesn't have the short game and the iron game to conquer this tournament. And so they had a nice little joke back and forth. And, Bryson was just so friendly with the press afterwards. As you mentioned, he came back out. Like, what player is going to come out when it's dark and hang out with Johnson Wagner, who's reenacting the 18th hole shot that he made? And apparently he was even signing autographs. They showed in the dark when almost everyone was gone. He was still signing autographs for fans until the very end. So you just don't see that too much, and we don't see him much anymore because he's on the Live Tour now. So he's kind of off our radar. Unfortunately, he'd be such a good player to have on the PGA Tour to kind of as an ambassador right now and just kind of make the game more fun. I saw also one of the holes he was bantering with the fans about how it was a drivable par 4, I think, on Saturday, but he didn't have the right line to take driver out. He put away his driver and hit an iron to be conservative, and he was joking with the fans. He's like, sorry, I'm not hitting driver here, guys. I know you want me to, but I'm not doing it. And he was kind of friendly banter with them. So yeah, it was nice seeing him embracing the fans, kind of like he did at the PGA a few weeks back, where he was really into it. And yeah, so too bad we're not going to see him for a while. You still there?
Yeah,
Sri?
I'm just
Okay.
there's something with my PC there, man. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, the one thing
So yeah,
what is that they were talking about? I did read another article on the Golf Channel. 19 shots, how 19 shots in 30 minutes changed the course of the U.S. Open. That's pretty much, that's between both Rory shots and Bryson shots, like in the span of 30 minutes. And I know we're texting back and forth, and I was actually texting with a lot of my other friends as well, who are diehard golf fans. We're actually watching shot by shot, and then some of them were diehard Rory fans, and definitely a lot of four-letter words were flowing in my text chats with them because they were really upset at the way Rory was almost like self-destructing himself, because this was his tournament to win. I mean, he had a two-stroke lead, and Bryson was actually not playing well in the middle part, and I think only in the back nine, only after the 13th, 14th hole, he started. He had some bad lies, but he somehow recovered, and he was able to get it right, and he just hung in there. And someone was comparing this to a Phil Mickelson game in like Winged Foot.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think we could go back to that, but I mean, this was heartbreaking for Rory, and like I said, we won't see him at the Travelers. I think if I were him, it would be the same thing. That for someone of his stature, someone of his number of top 10 finishes he's had in these mini tournaments, whether it's the Masters or whether it's the U.S. Open, it's just heartbreaking to see. But you know what? I mean, I was sending a text to my friends saying, if you don't make it 2 feet 6 inch putt, you don't deserve to win the U.S. Open. I mean, I know it happens to the best of them as well, but I think that's where we are with the with the U.S. Open. I know there's only one more major left. I think that's the British Open, but I think it's going to be interesting with Rory there. But for now, Bryson is the man for the U.S. Open. I mean, he deserved to win yesterday. He hung in there. He made some great shots, but I think they should probably frame the shot that he hit, the third shot that he hit, and he should probably frame it and put it in his house because that's the shot he's never. I mean, not many people are going to hit that kind of a shot to win a major.
I agree. No, it was fantastic. Shot of his life, he said. So he probably won't hit another one quite like that at that clutch of a moment. It would have been interesting to see if they were tied at the time, what would have happened too. I wonder if that they Chris Russo, Mad Dog, was talking about that on his show today. If Rory had not 3-putted 18 and they had been tied, and then if Bryson had if he had to get up and down from that bunker in order to just tie, as opposed to he still had the luxury of if he had got up and and then 2-putted, he still would have gone to a playoff, like a 3-hole aggregate playoff.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, but the pressure might have been different if he had to get up and down from that bunker. But regardless, what an amazing shot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of shot that you have to win the U.S. Open, and he did it. But the good thing is, like when we did the preview, you did give me Rory as one of the picks. So in my mind, I was actually rooting for Rory to win because that was the player that you allowed me to pick. I know you picked Scotty Scheffler and Colin Morikawa, I think.
Yeah.
And I picked Koepka, which of course he didn't even make it. And then Rory was my the second pick that you allowed me to pick. So I did want Rory to win just for that because my prediction would be right. But it didn't turn out to be that way, and we don't know. We'll probably see which is a Scottish Open. I think that's what he said.
Yep, Scottish. He defend. I guess he's going to defend the British Open. I think maybe the last time I think the British Open was at Troon. It sounds like he must have won because they said he'll be defending his British Open title from I guess maybe the last time that's when it was held there.
All right, this is good. I mean, I think our next big one would be the Wimbledon, if I'm not mistaken, because that's the major for us going back to tennis because we've been toggling between tennis, French Open, golf, back to tennis, and then we'll get the Olympics anyway, and that'll be more for us because I think that's when we may see Djokovic in the tennis and maybe in the Olympics. But for now, any last minute, except for Rory and Bryson, anybody who impressed you? Because I know my Ludwig Aberg is another guy who he almost hold out a hole there, but he kind of faltered as well in my mind. So any surprises for you? I think Henley played well. I think that was the talk of the town yesterday because I think not many, like you said, right? Not many players broke. Had negative scores.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have two things. I have a trivia question for you. We can end that on a sec. But then the other amazing, most surprising thing I've ever heard probably was so I think on Friday's broadcast, they were talking about how Scheffler was obviously struggling. He had a tough time. He wasn't driving well, didn't do much well. And, he was about plus, I think he didn't break par any day. He was about +2 or so every day. But they said when he showed up on the property on Monday, after he won the Memorial Tournament in Columbus, when he showed up on Monday at Pinehurst, that was his first time ever on the property at Pinehurst in his life. So I couldn't believe that. You think, he would have had several practice rounds over the years there. He maybe played as an amateur, amateur U.S. championship there, or he would have just been there with buddies, for fun to play there because it's such a historic place for U.S. Opens. So like when I have a friend in town, my friend Jay Karp, he's been at Pinehurst twice. He's played more rounds than Scotty had prior to this tournament. That blew me away. So maybe that played a factor a little bit, just course familiarity, not ever having been to this course before. It takes a while just for your eyes to just see a course a certain way, and just for it to set, to kind of just be, to kind of be able to picture certain holes and picture where to hit shots. So that might have played a small role in his struggles, and maybe he's just, mentally still fatigued. Who knows after he won a Memorial, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure why he struggled so much. We haven't seen him really struggle with the driver that much all year. So that was a bit of a surprise, and he just never really got it going. So, so that was one takeaway, the way Scheffler struggled, and he never been to Pinehurst in his life until this week. And then secondly, my trivia question, I saw this yesterday on the wrap-up show. Good trivia question. Since 2000, only 4 players have won multiple U.S. Opens, so 2 or more U.S. Opens since 2000. So name those 4 players.
I'm thinking Koepka.
Yep, he's got 3. Oh, he's got 2. I think it's 2. He's got 2. I think he's got 2 and 3 PGAs. Yeah.
Since 2000. Okay. Rory?
No, Roy's only won 1. He's won 1 U.S. Open. Yeah,
okay,
1
so
U.S.
let me
Open.
go back. 2 U.S. Opens. Not Phil.
No, he's never won.
Pete?
No, he's won 1 Open. He won at Chambers Bay, I think. Yeah.
This is a good question. I mean,
well, think of one of the greatest players of all time who's still playing. still
Tiger.
Tiger. He's got 3 or 4. I'm not sure the exact number. He's got multiple. And then so that's 2. So we got Koepka, Tiger, and then we got the guy who won yesterday.
Bryson. Okay.
No, got 2. He won in 2020. Then the 4th one's a tough one. South African player, not the one that you, not Ernie Els, another South African. His last name kind of sounds like a bird,
Not sure.
Retief Goosen.
Retief Goosen. Oh my God!
Not, he's won 2 U.S. Opens. I've never would have thought of that one in 100 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's the name I haven't heard in a while. So
yeah.
All right, so I should have actually guessed Tiger, but I think we kind of forget about him because
he's kind of out of mind, out of place, out of mind, right?
Exactly, but I think that's a good trivia question, and I'm sure our good friend Pete Suttmeyer would love these trivia questions. So this is just for Pete.
There you go, Pete.
All right, so I know we'll be at the Travelers. Unfortunately, we will not see Rory. We'll probably see the other golfers. It's I'm looking at the weather for this weekend. Supposed to be Saturday. Supposed to be mid 80s. So I think we should be good there. And hopefully we get to see some of the leaders like Scotty, maybe Tigala, Victor Hovland. We always see, but we won't see the others, right? We won't see the Koepkas of the world. We won't see those guys. So, we won't see Rory like we talked about. So
it's an elevated event. So basically every PGA player is going to be there. All the top guys except Rory. It sounds like right now. I think they're all coming because it's a big $20 million purse elevated event, and it's one of the fan favorites and the player favorites of the year. They really enjoy Travelers. So yeah, it'll be a great field.
Yeah. All right. This is great. Thank you, Dan. I think it was quite hard, at least for Rory. I don't think he should be listening to this podcast today because I think he's probably going to a shell. Maybe he goes into a meditation retreat and not see people for a while because I don't know what's going to get him back to the top of the leaderboard, or what's going to be 1-38, 1-37. We don't know which tournament that's going to be. So maybe the British Open, maybe a few more years of heartbreak like that. But the day belongs to Bryson, and I think he deserved it more than Rory lost it. I think it's a combination, but I think you still have to make the shots. Someone has to still hit those shots. All right. Thanks, Dan. Thank you again. Just hang on a bit. I'm just going to stop the recording, and good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.